Welcome to Feel the Heat, a 5 Reasons Sports Network Miami Heat podcast. Hosted by Allana Tachauer and Michael Christian. This is your one-stop listen for all things Miami Heat culture, past, present, and future, on and off the court.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to episode 29 of Feel the Heat. Michael makes fun of me when I point out what episode number we're on, but I'm going to keep doing it. So, Mr. Michael, how are we this evening?
A little hurt now that I've been called out like that. Just, straight shot to the heart. I don't know what to do with myself. You just called me out in front of our nationwide audience, actually global audience. I don't know. I'm hurt by that statement, truly.
Is it wrong? Did we not have a conversation about this, I think, last week?
I thought our conversations were private, honestly.
Most of what we say are private,
Yeah.
but I feel like that's an okay thing to expose.
Like, I've never outed you for saying, Michael, honestly, the truth is I'm a Lakers fan, not a Heat fan. The Heat are my second team.
Because that never happened?
I've never outed you.
So
for
you've never
telling me
lied,
that.
basically. That's a good trait to have, not to lie.
I don't lie. Lying is bad. Do you know what happened to Pinocchio?
What happened to Pinocchio?
He got burned at the stake for lying because he's made of wood, and they roasted s'mores over his fire.
Who doesn't love s'mores, though?
Over a carcass, though? A puppet
Well, if he's made
carcass?
of wood, is it really a carcass?
Well, he eventually... I
Go
don't even know
ahead.
where to go with it. I was going to say he eventually tried to become a real boy, but in this scenario, he was burned as a puppet, so the fairy couldn't do anything about it.
We're just getting darker and darker, which is interesting because we should be lighter. The Heat are now coming because they're 4 days away from playing a regular season game. I'm ecstatic, especially after what we saw in preseason, but I'd like to know your thoughts.
I do have to correct it. I think we had a much better transition setup now that I've caught it. Pinocchio was set on fire. Speaking of people on fire, the Miami Heat this preseason, like that was really the one.
Why didn't you get there then if that was the one?
Because I thought about it after you did yours.
Okay, well, let's have both then.
All right. What were we talking about? They're 5-1. Cool. They were 5-1. I'm disappointed that my 104-0 prediction is not going to be right. I really thought it was going to happen. I thought they were going to win all 6 preseason games, 82 games in the regular season, 16 games in the playoffs. If I have to, I will take 103-1, but only because they're making me, right? It really hurts, but I'll accept it. But it's good to see that team, that the Heat look fantastic out there. They look like a unit. They look very cohesive in a lot of different ways. They also do look like there's plenty of things that they need to work on and get used to. But I mean, we have to talk about bright spot of this past preseason has absolutely been Tyler Hero. I don't know what it was, but ever since Tyler Hero became a papa, that dude is absolutely sunning everybody out on those courts. He's looking great out there. I hope he can keep this up in the regular season. Everybody can shut their traps on all the trade talk and everything. Kyle Lowry in a Heat uniform is not anything that I really thought I'd see, at least before last season. I'm happy to see that as well. Bam is being much more aggressive. And I'm going to kill myself for saying this. Braided Jimmy looks good. Like, I do think.
I'm sorry. Could you run that back? What did you say? Louder for the people in the back.
Bam is being super aggressive.
No. A little bit more forward than that. You're like that wonky on-demand remote that I have that like skips too far and then I can't go back. And, Xfinity needs to figure their shit out.
You have an on-demand remote that you don't know how to use?
Well, it's not that I don't know how to use. Sometimes it sticks. It's not really an on-demand remote. It's just an Xfinity remote, but it especially doesn't work in on-demand features, I've realized.
Okay, boomer.
I am far from that. Thank you.
I don't know. You're pretty old to me. No, I will say watching Jimmy out there with the braids. It looks different, right? It's like, this Jimmy looked like he's ready for some smoke, right? Like Jimmy always looked like he was ready for some smoke. The braids do add a bit of a I don't know, texture difference. But this is what I'll say. It's like when you play a video game and you can buy different skins in the video game. They don't actually matter towards your gameplay. So
It's like when new moms cut their hair. It's a new beginning. Or like when girls go through a breakup and they dye their hair. You don't even know how many blondes go brunette, and I will never understand that. But it's like breakup comes and your hair gets darker. It's a
no,
thing.
no, I get it. After my first breakup, I shaved my head. So yeah, for sure.
I can't tell if you're kidding or not because it's something you would do for sure.
Wow, you think I'd shave my head after a relationship
Yes.
ends?
Well, like it depends how old we're talking here.
So technically that isn't factually incorrect. The sequence of
Mm-hmm.
events is just a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
I had just started college. I had ended my high school relationship. And so I decided to save some money. I was going to cut my own hair in the dorm like 2 or 3 weeks after we had broken up.
Mm-hmm.
I messed up.
Mm.
And after getting most of it good, I like took off like the clip, right? That like
Mm-hmm.
guards it so you can cut it a certain other length. And I was like, oh, there's this little like patch over here. I just got to trim that up real quick. And so I just shaved off a chunk of my hair and had like a big like square on the side
Oh
of my
my
head, just cut
God.
into it.
Is there a photo of this?
There is, and you will never see it. And I
Oh,
just
we're working
decided
on this.
I was going to shave my whole head. And it was really cold up in the state of Washington, and I had to wear a beanie for months
Did it look
because
good?
no,
Yeah, because you have like a nice full head of hair, so I can't really imagine.
for now. Yeah. You know how it is for us men. Hair loss jokes. Back to the heat.
Yeah, I'm glad I don't have to deal with that. And I'm also glad that you appreciate braided Jimmy. When you said Tyler Hero, the only thing that came to mind was how long do you think my heroes will stay good in their box? Because I've never opened them and I don't plan to. But am I just gonna keep like stale cereal forever?
I mean, yes, if you want to leave the box unopened.
I mean, is that gonna be okay? Am I gonna wake up and have like a mouse in the house?
Well, if there's a mouse getting into your cereal, then it's not unopened. And at that point, they probably chew to the box, thus making your box value 0.
Okay, I got really concerned and I don't know why that came to mind when you said that.
Why don't you just get one of those big gallon Ziploc bags and just put the box in
I
there?
have one of those. That's a good idea. You're just so smart, Mr. Michael.
I'm trying to get us on track, but you're trying really hard to not let that happen.
It's been one of those nights, so we're just gonna see what happens in this recording.
We had a great episode last week. Honestly, one of the very few episodes with you that I could say I was really proud of. Right, like I have to work with you all the time, and it's just like, here we go again.
That is the rudest thing you've ever said.
Last week I felt was so good, and now
it was, and
it.
I got a lot of positive feedback. Like when I listened back, I agreed, but then people started being like, that might have been your best yet. And I'm like, wait a second, I'm not wrong. But now they have to listen to this. The good news is we have very exciting news for next week's episode.
True.
A teaser will be coming out probably tomorrow or Wednesday, perhaps. But this is like the prelude to something completely new for Feel the Heat, and y'all are going to love it.
Exactly. So we do have a lot of big things planned. So view this as kind of like that last, like, what are these two talking about kind of episode, right? Like we go off the rails. That is who we are. In our heads, we're trying to sell you on our personality, who we are as individuals that makes us unique, our dynamic. Here's the honest truth though. It's been the off season. There's been very little to talk about outside of, that first 3 days of free agency and preseason, right? Once the season gets rolling, we won't be as distracted. We'll be doing nothing but talking about the Miami Heat, their fits, the culture player of the week, all of those things.
Basically become playoff LeBron. Whole new level.
I mean, right. I've always been playoff LeBron. You've always kind of been Zydrunas Ilgauskas.
Out of all people, that's who you pick is Big Z.
Is Big Z Euro?
Sure. I think.
Do you not always claim to be Euro?
It's not that I claim I am.
So then there you go. You're Zydrunas Ilgauskas.
All right. The point is, this will be our last episode that is anywhere near this, and might be a new format coming. We don't know. But speaking of new, this team is new. They're facing the Bucks. The rivalry continues. What do you think is going to happen on Thursday, the first regular season game?
Whoa, that's a tough question. I'm going to let you go first on that one so that then my take can seem a little bit
Right.
less difficult to take. You know what I mean?
Sure. We're gonna spank them, and that's all I have to say. How's that for a take?
It gives no detail. I think your term spank 'em was just like a very like, I don't know, like a lot of other people, a lot of other ethnicities might try to say something a little different. You went straight with, let me spank them, right? Like it's a little, no, you didn't think it was weird?
No, I mean, I used Merc on an episode of Bulls Outsiders once, and I literally didn't hear the end of it. So apparently my verbiage just can't please anyone.
I think it's just you. Look, this Thursday with the Bucks, would I love it if the Heat go out there and absolutely destroy them and get like a 20-point victory? Hell yeah. Do I think that at some point during the regular season that the Heat could do that? I honestly do. I think if the Heat catch the Bucks on an off night, the Heat are really ready for the game. I think they can get a really big win against them. I just think this is not the game where that's going to happen. You've got the Bucks coming right off of their championship win. Is that going to be the Bucks' first game of the season as well?
I do believe so.
So it's both teams playing their first game of the season.
I could be wrong, but
Potentially. All right, I'm checking. Okay, yeah, you are wrong.
Oh.
Nice going. They actually play the Brooklyn Nets. No, it's not. They actually play the Brooklyn Nets.
Oh, opening night. Correct. Yes, tomorrow.
In Milwaukee. So they already have gotten their rings. So there actually is a chance.
Oh, good. So they'll be a little tired.
Right. There is a chance that the Heat catch the Bucks kind of on a lull. You know, they just got their rings. The season just started up. They played the Nets, so they're really amped up for that game. And it is a home game for the Miami Heat. Oh, you know what? I will say that the Heat will win. I'll be with you there.
You forgot a key ingredient to this win.
Okay.
Miami PJ, sir.
Yep.
He's facing his old team. Come on. He's going to be so hungry for that win.
I mean, he seems like the kind of, no, I'm not going to say that. I just think I
unfortunately think I know where you're going with this.
I was going to say he seems like the kind of guy that's hungry pretty often, but now he's in Miami Heat form.
Right.
Now he's in Miami Heat form. So he's actually a really fit dude. You have to give him credit for that. Obviously, the staff knows what they're doing. Sure, it'll be a revenge game for him. I don't think PJ Tucker is really going to be the difference maker there. I would be shocked if he was. You seem very confident in this. Do you say he's going to be a difference maker because of the defense? Is he going to hit a bunch of corner threes? Like what is it?
I am all in on Miami PJ. This is, I think like every season, I feel like I have something that I'm just holding on to. This is what it is this season.
Miami PJ. So my Victor Oladipo is your Miami PJ?
Yes, basically.
Okay.
Do I need a PJ Tucker jersey?
I mean, go ahead. I got a lot of crap for buying a Victor Oladipo jersey, so
I don't know. I feel like that's kind of raw. He's the dog of all dogs. Okay. Michael's now just hating everything I say tonight.
No, that's kind of raw. Am I missing something? Do I need to get on TikTok? Is that what's happening?
I don't know. If you can't beat him, join him, I guess.
Is this like a thing the Gen Zers say?
I don't even know what I am technically in.
Boomer. So I think that the Heat will win this game against the Bucks. I think the Bucks are going to be on a little bit of a lull. I think the Heat are going to be really hungry for some revenge because you're talking about PJ Tucker. I think nobody in that building is going to want to win more than Jimmy Butler.
I agree.
Because if Jimmy Butler wasn't left seething after being swept in the first round of the playoffs by a team you had just beaten the year before, I don't know what he would be feeling. I understand there was a lot of things stacked against them. It was a completely different season, but you never want to go out 4-0. And only one of those 4 games did it actually look close. The rest of them, they looked like the better team by miles.
Yep.
Jimmy's going to come out with a fire. I think Kyle's going to follow that lead. Bam's going to follow that lead. I think a lot of the teams are going to follow that lead. And I think PJ Tucker will be an asset because he's going to be so mad. He's going to give a couple elbows to Giannis.
That's all I want.
As long as it's
the
not
dog in Miami PJ.
as long as there's not a flagrant foul called and it is not what is, in my opinion, a dirty play, like a dirty malicious play. I don't want that. I'll never
I don't
support
think
that.
he's a malicious player, though. I do think he's rough, but I've never seen him as a dirty player.
As long as it's not dirty or malicious, I'm fine with you playing as tough as you need to play. I think you'll do that. And sure, you know what? Heck, let's do it. Heat win the game. I'm not going to say by a spanking. Who says that? I'm going to say that the Heat win by like, I don't know, maybe like 5 or 6 points, right? It's a little tight.
12.
12 points.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you say is going to be the highest scorer in that game?
Jimmy.
Okay. And how many points is he going to have?
I don't know. That's too much math for me.
Too much math for you, not even once?
Okay. I just, no, yeah, numbers. It's,
Not your thing.
Yeah. Words, not numbers.
So then let's officially do this, though. Let's officially, mine and yours, feel the Heat predictions for the season. What seed do the Miami Heat end up at? And how far do they make it in the playoffs?
Oh, I'm going first.
Yes, thus me asking the question and then following it up with silence.
3rd seed.
Okay.
I'm torn because realistic me wants to stay realistic, but then another part of me wants to say Eastern Conference Finals.
Okay. Ooh, gutsy call there. So you're saying 3rd seed Eastern Conference Finals.
You know what? I'm feeling bold. Let's do it. Why not?
3rd seed Eastern Conference Finals as predicted by Allana Tachauer. All right, you ready for mine now?
Mm-hmm.
I also have the Heat in the 3rd seed. And I think you and I both have them in the 3rd seed because I think the Heat do have a decent amount of things that they need to figure out in the regular season. We also know this team is just, they're not the most consistent in the regular season. They know when to kind of step off the gas a little bit, to kind of let up, because this has always been my theory. You don't need to play 100% effort every single game in the regular season, because if you do, by the time the playoffs roll around, you're going to have a hard time, as proven by the large amount of number 1 seeds that have come and gone because they were just exhausted by the time they got there. So I think the Heat ended the 3rd seed, but are you ready for this little spicy meatball? Ready for this one?
Go.
I have the Heat making it all the way to the finals. That was the prediction I put on Sean's 5 reasons tally.
I didn't get to do that. I got too busy.
Oh, I got to fill it out. It was a really good time. I had the Heat making it all the way to the finals. I think I had them playing against, who did I have them playing? I think I had them playing against the Warriors. Yes.
What?
Your precious Lakers, ma'am, are not making the finals according to this guy.
You know what? As long as your prediction is a little bit more outrageous than mine, I'm happy.
I have the Heat making it to the finals. Who comes out of the Western Conference? I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't have the Heat winning the finals.
Okay.
I still think that Western Conference is really strong, and I think they'd have a leg up on the Heat with all that outside shooting, the speed of the game, and everything. I say the Heat run the table, though, on the Eastern Conference, and they make it all the way to the ship.
You heard it here first, folks. We're both very high on this team, and we actually agree on something, which is a rarity.
If that isn't guts right there, I don't know what the hell is.
Get yourself a t-shirt.
Heat.com, probably. Yes?
I think.
Heat.com, they got a guts t-shirt. Go check it out. Actually, and it supports a good cause. I do remember this.
It does. That's true.
It's a fantastic t-shirt. Man, oh, you did have a whole season's prediction section in your rundown.
I did.
That's
totally okay, because we got there, and this episode's a mess anyway. But while we're on here, just give me your top 5 in the East.
Top 5 in the East, man. I wish I could get it exactly like I had it on the thing, on Sean's thing. Pretty sure I had Bucks first. That team to me is built for the regular season. I had Nets second, and I had the Nets second because of one Kevin Durant, who I think currently is. Oh, this is tough for me to say as a LeBron fan, but I think Kevin Durant is right now the best player in the NBA, hands down, no questions asked. Third, I had the Miami Heat. I believe fourth, I had. Who did I have in fourth? I think in fourth, I had the Atlanta Hawks.
Mm-hmm.
And then in fifth, I had the Boston Celtics.
See, the only thing I would swap out is I really do think the Bulls are going to be fifth.
I think I have the Bulls at 7, and the 76ers at 6.
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, are you just doing that because you don't have faith in the Bulls because they haven't lived up, or you don't trust the actual team right now?
I don't live in Chicago, so I'm not drinking whatever water it is they give you people to believe in a garbage team.
I mean, this is the first year that I think that they're worth anything. Thank you. I've been really impressed from what I've seen so far.
I heard that you could buy the Bulls before for $100, and now it takes $110. So it's pretty steep increase in the value of a team. All thanks to Triple B Lonzo Ball. I don't know. I'm just not. I really don't believe in that team very much. I personally just didn't see it, right? Like, you need Zach LaVine to stay healthy. Doesn't really happen all that often. You'd need Nikola Vucevic to really step up and carry a team. That worked out well for Orlando.
You don't need him to carry a team.
I mean, he's the best player on the team.
Okay, so now you're delusional, and we have reached a whole new low to episode 29.
Yes, the only episode 29 we'll ever have until episode 129.
Which will happen because we're not going anywhere.
Here? Who knows?
Oh, we'll still be here. You're stuck with me for life.
I'm really sorry, listeners. We're stuck. Who do you have as your top 5? You just have the Bulls at 5 and everything else is the same?
Yeah.
Okay. Not bad. Look at us agreeing.
I know this is weird, but I don't hate it because I feel like there's going to be plenty of arguments as the season rolls on. Like we're kumbaya right now, but it's not going to last.
Sure. I agree with that. Here's the question I will ask you. You have on the rundown about us talking about shooters. We do have a nice little batch of shooters between Duncan Robinson, obviously, my man, my guy, the one who you so staunchly were against until you obviously saw the errors of your way.
I never said I was against the man. I feel like now if I ever meet him again, this is going to come out. I've met him once. He was a gem.
Oh, did you tell him that you didn't like him?
I do like him. He just wasn't doing very well, and I was concerned about his progression, but I was wrong, and I'm happy to be wrong. Very rarely does it happen, but it does happen.
Wow, very rarely, she says about Duncan Robinson, a man who I told her she was wrong about. She didn't listen, and now she has seen the error of her ways. Duncan Robinson, obviously, number one shooter on this team. We know he's going to do his thing. Tyler Hero, whose three-point shot looks much more effective, at least so far in the preseason. And Max Strus, who has been incredibly efficient in the few minutes he's had in this preseason. Here's my question to you, though. We can talk about the shooting percentages and how well they're going to do. We don't know this for a fact, but if you had to venture a guess, who do you think makes more three-pointers? Duncan Robinson on his own or Max Strus and Tyler Hero combined?
Oh, that's a good one. I still think Duncan, but only because I feel like Tyler's not necessarily going to solely rely on the three ball, and I don't still know how much Strus is going to play, although I do think it's going to be much more than last season.
You think Strus is going to play much more than last season?
I do.
Okay. I'm going to need you to just like vamp a little bit as I get their numbers because I want us to compare them like from previous seasons.
Well, I just think at least until Depot comes back, he's going to have a bigger role. I also think it's somewhat dependent on how Gabe Vincent is doing, because someone's going to need to fill the gap of a shooter in the second unit, aside from obviously Tyler. But like judging by what he looked like in summer league, and the fact that he clearly bulked up, I think that he is ready for a bigger role. And I think he's definitely one of those guys that I think Spo is going to count on in terms of just progression. And I think Spo trusts him.
Okay. And thank you for vamping because I have found the numbers. In the 2020-21 season, Tyler Hero on a per game basis made 2 3-point shots per game. That was on 5.5 attempts. Max Strus made 1.3 3-pointers per game on an average of 3.8 attempts. So we are up to a total of 3.3 between Max and Tyler. Duncan Robinson made 3.5 3-pointers per game on an average of 8.5 attempts per game. And just so that you know, that is him shooting a slightly higher volume, but at a lower shooting percentage than he did the year before, as Duncan Robinson shot 40% in 21 and 45% in 20. So it is pretty close.
I think that is close, and it's closer than I thought. But to me, first off, let's be real, Duncan got paid. So I think that alone is going to mean that he needs to take on more of the load. Not to say that he hasn't done so already. But I also think that we can both acknowledge he struggled a little bit near the trade deadline. Obviously, I don't think that's going to be the case anymore. I think his confidence is back. I also think, well, hopefully anyway, that he has worked on getting around those screens a little bit more, because I do think that he had more free reign when he first entered the league and was kind of undiscovered. People obviously got his number. They were locking him down. And so I think he struggled a little bit more to get open. So hopefully he finds a way around that and gets to shoot more, ergo meaning he makes more. I still think I'm right, but I do think it'll be close.
Yeah. And what was it that you picked exactly again? You said Duncan's going to make more?
Yes.
Right. I will disagree with you to make the other side of the argument. And also because I just do slightly disagree with you there on the fact that I think Duncan will have another good season. I think he will be again around the 3.5 to 4 3-pointers made per game. I think what's going to hurt him, however, is the fact that in terms of this scenario, right? Not him personally, but in this scenario, I think Max Strus is going to get a decent amount of playing time throughout the year because they like what they've seen out of him. And I think all of us like what we've seen out of him. Dating back to last year where you kind of saw the confidence there, it just wasn't always hitting. You saw him really work on his game in summer league. He came out and was just absolutely dominating. I haven't been in a sports arena of like for basketball other than when I was there for summer league and seeing the explosion at summer league when there's maybe like 40 Heat fans in total, but there's like 2,000 basketball fans. When he makes that 3-pointer at the start of overtime, that place absolutely erupted and he looked ready for that moment. And yes, it is summer league, right? You can never call that the actual games, but that's a big step for any player to have that sort of confidence to just know this is what I'm going to do. I think his attempts going up and his efficiency being so high as it was, I think that's where it's going to sway. I think Tyler will still be around the same numbers because I think he's going to find a way to get shots elsewhere. But I think Max Strus is a real difference there. Him going up to maybe 5 3-pointer attempts per game, putting him close to, I'm going to put him close to like 2 as well, close to about 2 3-pointers per game. I think they're just slightly going to edge out Duncan Robinson on total 3-pointers, but it's going to be really close.
I think what I'm looking for from Max is just consistency. I'm not saying that it was his fault necessarily, because I think that especially with kind of raw shooters like that, they need time to heat up. And I don't think that was necessarily always the case, because I think he was getting kind of thrown in and yanked. And I obviously, he wasn't playing every game, which, messes with a pure shooter. So I understand that it wasn't necessarily all in his control, but I do think he had a little bit of streakiness to him, not all the time and not for the entire season. But I think if he can work on being consistent, then you're probably right. I just think for me, Duncan is such a rock in that way that he edges him out a little bit.
Yeah. And honestly, I think it's so nice that we live in a time in Heat basketball where these are the conversations we can be having. Or it's like, who's going to shoot more threes? And obviously Duncan's going to get a ton more volume. So 1 versus 1, we know which way it's going to go. But I mean, we're kind of lucky to have this team as currently constructed, because a lot of things went our way, right? Dating all the way back to Jimmy, Bam being as good as he is. I'm very excited to see the way this team plays this year. And I'm very excited for certain players, who, to come back, because I will say this. I've already said this. Depot, when he comes back, is going to have it together. And I think he's going to be a big difference maker for this team. He has seemed so ready and willing to come back for a while. And everything he's put out there is just like this hunger and this fire to say, I want to be who I was again. And I'm going to take this as seriously as I can. I mean, at this point, how can you not love Depot as much as I do?
I absolutely think he's going to be the X factor. And again, I think that everything we've seen so far and heard so far about his not only physical recovery, but just the place that he's at mentally, is a good sign. And it makes me feel more confident. However, I'm not as confident still as you are. And I think that it's just going to take some time for me to fully have faith. I also just really urge everyone to just be slow with him. And I think that generally we're good at that. Obviously, the Heat know what they're doing. I just don't want it to be a situation where everyone gets excited and he gets a little bit too many minutes and things go south. So do I absolutely think he is the difference maker? Yes. It's going to be slow and it's going to take a little bit of time for me to have full faith in him.
And in that same kind of vein of thought, I think it would be healthy and smart for all of us to recognize that we need to kind of be slow with the uptake on some of these things with the entire team, and especially a guy like Tyler, who we've known can be very hit or miss with his gameplay. I just don't want people to freak out if game one, Tyler comes out, struggles, only scores like 7 points and has a bad shooting performance, right? I would love to say he's going to be the 20+ point per game guy that he was in the preseason, but I can't say that super confidently yet because I need to see it happen in the regular season.
So you're saying that Ethan's claim that Tyler will be our leading scorer is false?
Ethan said what?
I'm pretty sure I don't know if he said it or he just asked it, but it seems like he's leaning towards the fact that Tyler's going to be the man.
Wow. Okay. Well then, let's see if that happens.
Who do you think will be our lead scorer?
I mean, I have to say Jimmy.
Interesting.
I have to say Jimmy because, so in my opinion, okay, so I think Jimmy should be our leading scorer. And the reason why I say that is because Jimmy is the guy on this team, right? When somebody else might be having an off night or when the game is pretty tight, the ball should be in Jimmy's hands because he is the guy. Now, I'd love to see some plays here or there where it's in Kyle's hands and he's deciding what's happening, or it's in Bam's hands and he's deciding what's happening, right? I'm fine with switching off like that, but Jimmy is the guy on this team. And I want him to take a bit more of that offensive responsibility. I understand we have a lot of other weapons, but I think it should be complementary, not, cannibalizing his offensive game at all. I understand.
It's interesting because I think it should be Bam.
You think Bam should be leading scorer? Okay. And I just wanted to be clear to ourselves and everybody listening. This is what we're saying should happen, not what we predict will happen.
Correct.
Who we think should be leading scorers.
Correct.
You say Bam over Jimmy?
Here's the thing. I think that because of the fact that Jimmy's a little older and the wear and tear that he puts through his body or puts his body through, to me, I would feel better if Bam was just doing a little bit more. I think that, especially in the regular season, there's no need to put everything on Jimmy like we have been doing. And I think that if Bam can be more aggressive, going to the rim, I think if he's working on his mid-range game, I think obviously if he's letting more threes fly, there should be no reason why he's not. And I don't think it should be like a monumental difference, right? I don't think there should be that much of a gap, but to me, I would prefer Bam scoring more just to ease things off of Jimmy a little bit during the regular season.
I think that's really interesting you say that. And I guess because I was thinking in my head, I was like, I'm thinking of team leaders that aren't their team's leading scorer. And I understand there's much more to basketball than scoring. I think everybody knows that. But it's tough to think of those kinds of examples. And as I'm going through it, I did think of a team specifically. I mean, you've got the Phoenix Suns, your second favorite team right behind the Lakers ahead of the Heat. The Phoenix Suns. With Phoenix, Chris Paul is the leader of that team. And I don't think anybody would dispute that. You had Booker though as the leading scorer. So that was the one example I was thinking of. And I think that makes a lot of sense. I just don't know if Bam is ready to be that guy just yet. I want him to take a step forward. I want him to take more shots, but I don't know if I need him to be that leading scorer on the team because I still think it should be Jimmy. I still think Jimmy's
I
score
think
those
it
points.
should be by a small margin. I also think that, they're going to have nights where a lot of guys are in double figures and they're going to be very close. But to me, it's more a matter of, first of all, I think that if he works on the versatility of his game, he's going to get better looks just because of his size. And again, I just want to lean into his youth. I'm not at all trying to say that Jimmy's past his prime or that he's on his way out. That's not it. It's just that wear and tear is a thing. He has a tendency to take on more maybe than he should just because he wants to be all in for the team. And that's great, but it does lead to him getting gassed. And if we are trying to go as far as possible in the playoffs, I just think that right now Bam can take on more of that. And I also just think he looks like a different guy coming out of the Olympics. I mean, just the fact that he's carrying around this gold medal, it's a small thing, but it just shows a little bit of change in personality in that he's a little flashier. He's a little bit more comfortable being that guy that everyone's like gawking over. Why not have that translate on the court?
I mean, you're absolutely right. Something about sticking it to Greg Popovich really uplifted Bam Adebayo. I guess in that same vein of thought, though, then you can kind of see Ethan's point for Tyler, because Tyler's going to be running a lot of second unit. He should be able to take whatever shots he wants to pick up that side of the ball offensive, that second unit on the offensive side of the ball. I think it could go either way. I'd be happy with it being either Bam or Jimmy. I just lean towards Jimmy because to me, Jimmy is the leader of the team and I need to see him being the guy that's consistently saying, put it on my shoulders. I'm fine with it. Before we get into some off the court stuff, two last things I wanted to wrap up on the Heat. Number one, did you see Eric Spoelstra's comments on Bam Adebayo and the 3-point shooting though?
I did not, I don't think.
Just chef's kiss on what he said, honestly, because what he said was somebody asked him about Bam and his 3-point shooting and all that kind of stuff. And I'm paraphrasing. I don't have it word for word, but essentially what he said was, Spo's like, I don't see why everybody cares so much about that because he can tell that a lot of people have asked about that. And a lot of people always bring it up. He's like, I don't care. And again, this is a summary. Spo is basically saying he doesn't care about where Bam is getting his shots from. He just wants Bam to be more aggressive. He's
getting his points right. Yeah. Right. Which I mean is a good point. And I think that's that is part of my reasoning is that he can get them however he wants, as long as he's being aggressive. So I understand why people want him to incorporate more from the standpoint of why not have him be good at everything. But again, I don't think it's ever going to be his bread and butter. And I don't think he needs to focus on that in order for us to be successful.
That's absolutely what I think. And the last thing on the Heat before we go on the off the court stuff, you have one more name on here for us to talk about. And you know what? I don't even care about him. It's KZ. I'll just say it. We had a thing for KZ.
It hurts my heart a little bit.
He doesn't play a part on this team.
It hurts my heart a little bit because to me, I start turning on guys when I don't see effort or when I see kind of poor sportsmanship or when I see them, not bought into the system anymore. To me, it's just a bad fit. Something about it is not working.
Okay.
It's just not.
We do also have to throw the talent part in there.
Sure. But I think that he's regressed. And for me, even if you're not the greatest talent, you're at least going to stay consistent or maybe show improvement in one part or another. I don't know how to explain it. And this could just be me. He looks lost. There's no other way to put it. It's not even that I am pinpointing a part of his game that's not working or that I think he needs to work on mechanics. He is just a step behind. And I don't know, maybe it's the environment. Maybe it's the fact that he doesn't, I don't know, place schematically into what we're doing. I can't figure it out. It makes me sad. I want him to go blossom somewhere else. Look at Precious in Toronto. Like sometimes you just need to call it a day. I don't know how we do that. It makes me sad. I was literally on another pod yesterday and I forgot he was on the team. And once I remembered, it hurt me because I don't want to do that to one of our guys, but I just legitimately forgot. I was trying to go through the roster and his name didn't ring any bells.
Well, you heard it here, KZ, Allana, and I both wish the best for you as a person. And I think both of us wish the best for you from a basketball standpoint. Elsewhere, just because I don't see where you get minutes on this team. I don't see it. There's a long list of people I'm giving minutes to before KZ Okpala. And if he wants a chance to become a consistently playing NBA player, that's going to have to be somewhere else, because here, the only way he's going to get minutes is with a laundry list of injuries. And I do not want that to happen in any way, shape, or form. We do, however, want to say huge congratulations to the Miami Heat for being a fully vaccinated team.
Absolutely.
Vaccination, for some reason, is a touchy subject here in the United States of America, because Americans can only do one thing right, and that is nothing.
Okay, to be fair, there are a lot of European countries who are worse off with vaccination rates and who are literally protesting the streets against the vaccine. So I'm not trying to be rah-rah American, because that's definitely not me. But if we're being realistic, it's not just us, unfortunately. It's just mankind in general at this point.
Well, we know the commonalities between America and some of those European countries, don't we? I won't say them, but I'm sure you could pick up on them if you wanted to. Either way, if you don't want to get the vaccine, that is your choice. I think about you what I think about you, and I will reserve that to myself. But the Miami Heat are a fully vaccinated team, and that is an amazing thing to see. Number one, it's fantastic for their own personal health and their families. And number two, from a selfish standpoint, which is a basketball standpoint, it gives them the best competitive advantage, because it makes the chances of them getting COVID as a locker room so much lower. It makes them available in every state, and makes it so that the locker room isn't divided because a certain leading point guard may or may not stand one way or the other on vaccinations. Cough, cough, Kyrie Irving, you're an idiot. All right, off the court stuff, or well, not off the court stuff, other team stuff really quickly. DeAndre Ayton, maybe not a Sun much longer.
I'm surprised. I don't know where the disconnect is. I think he has made a tremendous leap from the player he used to be. Obviously him and Chris Paul are extremely close. I think he has a great relationship with Book. It seemed like he was one of Monty's main guys. I don't know what happened there. I feel bad for him. I'm pretty shocked.
I don't think it made much sense for them to not extend him. And then it made 3 times as much not sense when they're like, oh, let's extend that guy and let's extend this guy. It's like a constant show of like, oh, you want this money? Oh, you almost got it. Looks like we gave it to the other guy. Oh, you want this money? Whoops, that's going over here.
Which begs the question of if something happened.
Were they the ones that just gave Landry Shamet an extension?
They were indeed.
What are we doing? Phoenix? Are we
There's
trying
no
to
way
not
that
make
some
it back to the
story
finals?
Doesn't come out. I mean, I don't understand what could have occurred like on the court in terms of what they expected of him. He did everything he could have done. So I'm sure some more stuff will come out about this. I'm surprised that it's developing this way.
I don't think any person believes that DeAndre Ayton is the most important player in Phoenix, as Devin Booker is much more.
Played a role.
Chris Paul is probably more important, but DeAndre Ayton, more than anyone else on that team after those two guys, deserves a contract extension.
Absolutely.
And with the way NBA contracts go, he is a max player. He just is. I don't see what the fuss was there, but you want to run your organization poorly and you're not the Miami Heat, by all means, makes it easier for us. And
except that it's James Jones running things, which makes it even stranger. Something about this is off, and I'm sure details will unfold, because as it is right now, I don't think this makes any logical sense.
Well, I think I had read something that it was like, it was the owner. It was the owner causing a bit of a sticking point.
Okay.
And not wanting to give the max, right? Like right below the max, which again, just comes down to like, I'm going to stick my foot in the sand on this and I'm going to show you that I'm the boss. It's like, that doesn't really affect your pocket at the end of the day. What are we doing here?
And listen, I am going to be the first one to say some of these max deals have been ludicrous. Guys that I don't think are max players have been getting an astounding amount of money. The money itself is a crazy, crazy amount. The thing is, at the end of the day, the market is what the market is. The cap is what it is. So you just need to play ball. And if you don't think that you should be giving it to him, then you're going to lose out on a great player.
Yeah.
And honestly, at a certain point, you just got to overlook the money and just do it out of like good faith.
I think the chances were already slim of the Phoenix Suns making it back to the NBA Finals with the disgruntled DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah.
And most likely DeAndre Ayton not coming back from the future because of he probably won't re-sign with that team in the offseason. And I wouldn't blame him one bit because it probably sucks to sit there and have these conversations go nowhere. So I think the Phoenix Suns are really jeopardizing their future here. And you hate to see it, but again, I'm a Heat fan, so I don't really hate to see it that bad. What's this other one you have? Jabari's future? What are we talking about? Jabari
Celtics
Parker?
released him. And I don't know. This guy can't stay on a team. I don't know what's going on. I feel like his upside was so great when he first entered the league. And ever since then, it's just been on a decline. I don't know where he's going to go. I don't know if someone's going to take him. Were you surprised by this news?
Not really, because if I am not mistaken, even when Jabari Parker was on an NBA team, he wasn't actually playing because the man has had, unfortunately, more injuries than anyone would care to count. Correct?
Well, though, on top of that, what really just struck me about him is I think it was with the Bulls. He basically said he's not interested in ever playing defense. And to me, when you are so injury prone, and which is of no fault of your own, but you already have that as a knock against you, then you kind of go from team to team. What position are you really in to go telling media that you're not interested in playing defense? To me, it's just that rubbed me so wrong. And since then, I'm just like, well, good luck in your future. And it hasn't panned out for him.
There's just something about Duke basketball players just not having very long NBA careers or much NBA availability, huh? Well,
Michael said it, not me.
Like anybody's still upset over that potential pick that we all may or may not have touted as, man, this could really be the next guy. And then poof, like a magician, just vanished. Just
to be fair, he has some really great quotes every morning. Me and him have that in common.
Who's he? Do you want to say his name?
I'm just, a certain player. Go check his Instagram. Every morning he posts a quote. He handwrites it too.
A certain player. I wonder who we're talking about. Certain Duke Blue Devils may or may not have been drafted 10th overall by the Miami Heat. So
to close
last
out.
thing, your boys, your favorites.
Your boys picked up your boy. My boys picked up your boy.
My boy. Who's my boy?
AB, Avery Bradley. I do recall you being quite a fan of his when he was on
Avery Bradley
Miami
brought value to the Heat as a defensive player
so
at a time where we had 0 point of attack defense, and then he decided to have the same availability as Jabari Parker, so I sent him away.
I'm not coming after you for this. AB definitely has a certain skill set. Where do the Lakers still have room? Like, do they get 55 roster spots this year? I don't get it. Literally, I feel like every week they're picking up a new player and they don't seem to be releasing anyone. So what's going on here?
It's the Lakers and it's LeBron James, and he can do literally anything he wants.
I guess.
I mean, let's not overlook the fact that according to Los Angeles and Lakers fans and people around the globe, what's the name of the guy from the Lakers that I hated? I literally forgot him. The one that plays in Shanghai now. He doesn't actually play in Shanghai.
I don't know who you're talking about.
The guy who I hated, who I said Kuzma. He plays in Shanghai now.
Kuz.
Doesn't Kuz play in Shanghai?
No, he's on the Wizards.
I thought he was in the Chinese basketball league.
Leave the Leo alone.
Kuzma was supposed to be the next big thing. Everybody watch out. It's Kyle Kuzma. And now they've got a new Kyle Kuzma. And his name is THT. And he's probably going to end up
that up too
in the middle of nowhere else once LeBron gets mad at him, because he's probably not very good. Just like
it's not
Caruso is in Chicago.
Though. Caruso is killing it already, and he's going to be a fan favorite for sure.
Caruso's a fan favorite because he's bald and can dunk.
No.
Yes.
Wrong. And let me tell you something. I stand corrected because I could not watch this man and take him seriously. Every time he played, I just thought of Elmer Fudd, and I'm like, you are not an NBA player, and I can't watch you play. Does part of me still feel that way when I watch him? Sometimes, but after doing some digging and writing an article or two on him, and then after watching him behind the scenes a bit with the Bulls, he's gritty, and he worked his butt off to get to where he is. His defense is underrated. I think he's going to bring great veteran leadership to a team that is still figuring things out. So I would not put him in the same category. However, what I will say, Kuz, THT, somewhat Caruso, even Tyler.
No.
It's expectations being put on them by other people just because LeBron touted him.
Tyler is a better player than all three of those.
I agree with that.
Has been for a long time.
But the point I'm trying to make, they didn't come out and say things about themselves. They may have gotten there eventually. Well, but listen, Kuz got a little asterisk put on him because of LeBron. And after that, nothing he did lived up to that. So.
Listen, you lost me when you said Caruso and veteran leadership in the same sentence, especially on a team. How many that has
preseason Bulls games have you watched, Michael?
Especially on a team that has
how many
DeMar
preseason Bulls games have you watched? Okay, is that none?
Who do you think has more veteran leadership, DeMar DeRozan
none?
or Alex Caruso?
Did you watch any of their media day stuff?
Pick one.
How many have you watched? I'm not saying, of course, DeMar.
Okay, Nikola
there can only be one vet leadership guy
and Alex Caruso.
There can only be one on one team. That's ridiculous. I never made that claim. I'm just saying he brings more to the table than meets the eye, and I think that people are really going to appreciate that in Chicago. That's all.
I just think it's a very strange thing to be like, hey guys, we're in a tough bind. What do we do? Let's go ask Caruso about his days in Los Angeles.
No one, what? He's not their therapist. We're in a tough bind. This is going all over the place. I don't even know where your head is at.
Look, Caruso and his headband, I've never cared for. Again, when I say these things, I don't know any of what these people are like off the court personally, because I do not know them. To be fair, personally.
You don't really know what they're like on the court either.
Alex Caruso?
For the Bulls? Have you watched a single preseason game?
No, it's the Bulls.
Okay,
I don't think people in Chicago have watched a preseason game.
Oh, we absolutely have. They are looking good.
As good as the Sky?
No.
Exactly, because the Bulls aren't even the best basketball team in their own city.
When did I say that? I am merely saying they look good.
Allana, your job is to love every
I hate when
NBA.
You say my name. There's something about you saying my name that literally gets under the deepest part of my skin.
But what's your name?
No, it's just something about it. We need to wrap up this episode because people are probably checked out.
Señorita Tachauer, your job is to love on every team in the NBA.
That's absolutely not true.
Is to hate on them. That is absolutely not true. That is the dynamic we've established. Okay. That is just what we've established.
And he hits me with a K.
And the Lakers and everybody else. And I hate on all of them. It is what it is.
Good night, y'all. See you next week.
I'm going to make you say it again because I'm not done talking.
For a new and improved Feel the Heat, new season, new us, Lego.
Thanks for listening to Feel the Heat. Can't get enough of your hosts? Follow Allana at Allana Tachauer, Tachauer, and Michael at Michael5RSN on Twitter and Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe.